Kesara, and today I'm going to be doing my review for The Sword of Kaigen by M.L. Wang. Oh my gosh, guys, this book is so good. I loved this book so much. It's such an emotionally raw book that had me like bawling my eyes out for like at least 200 pages. I absolutely love these characters. I love their character arcs and their relationships and like the family dynamics here and the growth and the development within the family and the individual characters, which is so good. I loved every second of that. I haven't read a book like this in the longest while because like I don't cry easily, but man, this book is just such a tearjerker, especially when it comes to fiction. Like, I very rarely cry, but this book just had me the entire time. I don't even know how the author managed to do it, because this book was just such an intensely emotional book that I just couldn't stop. I literally just finished this book, by the way, so I should probably start with the summary. So this book is set on the Takayubi Peninsula in this world, which is considered like the Sword of Kaigen because it's part of the Kaigenese Empire. It's kind of known for protecting the empire. Like the old warrior class families that live on this peninsula are known for like their ancient warrior traditions. And while they're not part of the military, they're incredibly loyal to the empire. And they live a little bit backwards because in this world, there are technologies and things like that, but on their peninsula, they live so high up in the mountains that they don't have like cell phone towers and things like that because their magic is so powerful, because their bloodlines are so pure, according to them. They're some of the most respected families in the empire, according to them. And this is following two characters, Misaki and Mamoru, who are mother and son. Misaki married into the Matsuda family. She's actually from another village in the surrounding area, and her family is known kind of for like the manipulation of blood. Like all of them are known for the manipulation of water, but each different family has like their own specialty, and her family is known for blood. And the Matsudas, the family that she marries into, is known mostly for ice and the Whispering Blade, which is basically a sword made of ice that can cut through anything. And her son, Mamoru, his like main mission in this story is to create this Whispering Blade. His father and his uncle both managed to master the Whispering Blade when they were very young, so he wants to master it too. It's part of what he was born to do, and it's part of the tradition in their family. His driving spirit for a good portion of this novel, and to be just that responsible Matsuda warrior. He's going to school, and he is one of the strongest fighters at his school, but at the same time he still works really hard because he just has the weight of that tradition and responsibility on his shoulders. His father, Takeru, Misaki's husband, is one of the most powerful members of their family that ever existed, and because of that, Mamoru kind of is in his shadow. In case you're wondering, this is a very character driven story. Like obviously this is a very character driven story, so I'm just gonna go into the structure that I normally do. I normally talk about character, plot, world building, and writing style, and I'm gonna try and keep this mostly spoiler free. I will have a section at the end where I will talk about spoilers because I cannot talk about this book without talking about spoilers. But first of all, we're gonna start with character. There are just so many characters in this book, but first I have to talk about Mamoru and Misaki. First of all, we're gonna talk Misaki. She is like one of my favorite characters in the entire series. I love that she's one of the main characters, and her storyline really seems to take over like the majority of this book. And I love it because she's not a young character. Like, she has a past, she has a history, she has a backstory that's really interesting and mysterious, especially at the beginning of the book. Yet she's in this situation at the beginning of the book where she's a housewife, and she's chosen to be this housewife. She was a really strong young woman in the past in certain ways. She chose this life because it was a tradition in her family, but for other reasons as well. But she's not fully happy with it, and she's kind of kept to herself at the beginning of the story. So she hasn't really embraced her family. She hasn't really embraced her husband or her 4 sons that she has, even though she's done pretty much everything that she's supposed to do. Like, she has followed all the rules. She married into one of the strongest families in this world. She had 4 sons. Sons are what she was meant to do, and they're all very strong as well. But she's not happy because she hasn't really embraced that life, and I just love to see her character growth and arc, and how like her relationship specifically with Mamoru, especially in the beginning of this novel, changes, and even with other members of her family. I absolutely love that aspect of this, especially when like her past comes back and the people in her family kind of learn about her past and how much she actually knows. Because at the beginning of this novel, she kind of looked at like this kind of like stupid housewife that doesn't know anything, and at the same time she's one of the most worldly people in this book, one of the most knowledgeable and wisest people in this book, and she doesn't feel that way at the beginning. And it just her character arc is just written so well, and I absolutely love it. Mamoru's character arc, break my heart. It was so good. I absolutely loved it as well. I did not expect his character arc to go the way that it did, but I love the way the author developed that and the way that was depicted in the story. I think it was done really well. There are other characters in this that have really good arcs as well. Takeru, for the majority of the beginning of this book, I was just like hating on him, but at the same time I was just like, there's something about him. He is Misaki's husband, in case you're wondering, Mamoru's father. And I'm just like, there's something about him that makes me think there's more to him than what we're seeing at the beginning, because you see him mostly through Misaki's eyes. And like I said, she's very detached from her family, especially in like the first half of this book. So like, you can kind of tell she's not seeing the real him. So I loved his character arc and getting to know him as well. And of course, there's his brother Takashi, who is just this fun, loving gem of a person that I absolutely love. And his wife, Setsuki, I love her background. I love her as a character, as well as Hayori. And between Setsuki and Hayori, they're like Misaki's like little like group of friends. They're dynamic and their friendships are so great. I love the female friendships that are in this book. They're so well done. I absolutely love that aspect of it. I also love that they're all mothers and they have specific conflicts that come with that territory. Like, you don't get a whole lot of stories like this that are written about women with children. Like usually by the time you have children, your life is over, like in these sort of stories. And this one, it's not that at all. Like, her life was finally beginning. 15 years after she had her first child, she was finally getting that character growth and development that I really loved. That's Misaki specifically, but I love just their whole group and everything there. And there are other characters as well, like Yukino Dai, who is Mamoru's teacher, is a fantastic and very wise character that I absolutely loved as well. Legitimately, like, the way she writes her characters, I absolutely love. Very much a character-driven story, and I think the characters and their character arcs are one of the best aspects of this story. Now we have to talk about plot. And I have to say, like, the pacing of this book is done really well. Like, I could not stop reading this book, and it's slow, mind you. Like, it's not a fast-paced book. I remember, like, as I was reading the Kindle, I was like, did like 2 hours really go by? Like, and I would look at the time and I'm just like, oh yeah, 2 hours really did go by. I've been reading this whole time. I was so engrossed in the story that I didn't feel that much time go by. I didn't feel that many pages go by. Yet at the same time, not as much happened. But it's because it's the character arcs that really get you and just getting inside those characters' heads. So like I said, it's very character driven. That doesn't mean that there's not action in this book, because there is a ton of action also. There's a lot of political intrigue in this book also that I absolutely love. The political intrigue. I will say I was a little disappointed by the end of the political intrigue, but overall I really loved that. One thing I will say about the plot is I think this book was doing such a good job of being this fantastic standalone fantasy novel until like the last chapter. And the last chapter kind of disappointed me, because the last chapter makes this very obviously a prequel set in this world, because there is 2 books in this series that as of right now, we don't know if the author is going to finish it yet or not. But if it wasn't for that last chapter, I feel like this book could definitely be like a standalone novel on its own, which it is. But because of that last chapter, it doesn't give us the closure to some of the things that we want that happened before that last chapter. And it seems to just open up a lot of questions that I hadn't been asking before that came in. That's why I wasn't too happy with that side of the plot. But like up until that last chapter, this book was just so good. There is tons and tons of action in here, and I absolutely loved it. So we're gonna talk about world building, and the world building was a little hit or miss for me. Some parts of the world building I absolutely loved. It's similar to Avatar: The Last Airbender, like the water bending in that. It's very similar to that because it's set in a very cold place, and the characters manipulate water and ice, and like I said, Misaki can manipulate blood as well. The way the magic is described is so well done. I absolutely love the way the magic is described. I loved the culture and the history that goes into the story and into this little part of the world. One thing I didn't like about the world was the technology, because technology is not a huge part of this book, but you can feel it at times in the world because there are like references to other places in the world, and there is a company that comes in to build cell towers and things like that that happen in this book that I'm just kind of like, I don't like that. Why couldn't it just be set in more ancient times? And I would have liked it a lot more than that, because this book works so well with that sort of setting. So every time it kind of talks about those other aspects of the world building, it kind of annoyed me, but overall, I just really, really love this world. It's so rich in history and culture, and the way the author weaves in that world building was really, really well done. And lastly, we have to talk about writing style, and I already talked a little bit about the way the author weaves in the world building, but I feel like she just is such a master at doing it, because in books like this, there's just so much world building when it comes to like actual words, like the places, the names of the like the magical beings, the types of magic, things like that. All of those words are very specific, and there are different languages that are told, but she does it in a way where like you can understand everything that's going on without having massive info dumps. Like you learn what you need to learn as you go through the book. Like, and a lot of it is like from context clues. You learn how it works from context clues. Like the way they greet each other, you learn that through context clues. You never actually explained why they greet each other these ways, but it works in the story and you understand it through all of those context clues. So I really love that. It works really well in this story. I do think the way she does her character development, like I said, she puts so much emotion into this story. I don't know how she does that, but like I felt like I really got to know each individual character so well. Even like the characters that you're seeing from other people's perspective, you can tell when that character is not being entirely honest with you from that perspective, and that there's more to the other character than what this character is actually seeing. And I love that aspect of this. And the action, she writes action scenes so good. I know I didn't talk very much about the action, but there is a lot of fighting that happens in this book. There's a little bit of action outside of the fighting that also happens, and it was so good. Like everything you could picture so well. There's so much movement during the battle scenes, but you can picture like every step of the way, and it made sense, and it worked logically, and I just loved every second of that. It was so good. It's so well done. One thing I will say, I do think at times the character development felt a little too familiar. I don't know how to explain that, because like we're reading from their perspective, but we weren't actually in their heads, and at times that felt a little weird, but it really, really worked for me overall. I absolutely love this book so much. I highly recommend it if you haven't read this book, and I ended up giving it 5 stars. So if you haven't read this book, I highly recommend you go read this book now, because I'm gonna switch to the spoiler section now, and you should not be spoiled for this book. Like please, just stop watching now. Go read this book, and you can come back and watch the spoiler section of this video afterwards. But if you have read this book, let's talk spoilers. Did anyone else see Mamoru's character arc ending before it happened? I was in denial up until it actually happened. Like I was in complete denial, because Mamoru was like my favorite character. Like I was with him every second until it happened, and then I was just like, he's gotta come back, he's gotta come back. It's like there's no way. But then like the way she wrote it, it was so well done. Like I would have been angry if she brought him back, because like he was working this whole time to get the Whispering Blade, to protect his family, to protect the new move, I think that's what they're called. That was his whole purpose. He had such a great character arc in the sense that he had this like coming of age sort of feel there. He was so loyal to the Empire, and then having those views challenged and changing and growing with that, and his relationship with his mother there, where they finally like come together and they finally have this good relationship. He kind of finds it in himself why he would actually fight and why he wants to protect his people. And then he gets to that point where his uncle couldn't kill this guy. His father couldn't kill this guy. The dragon killer, the fastest of their enemies, he's injured. He already got hurt. And he finally summons the Whispering Blade, which is what he's been searching for pretty much this entire story. It was just such a perfect character arc. I loved every second of it, but it devastated me so much. Oh my gosh. After that, I almost didn't want to pick the book back up. I knew I was going to, but like, oh, that hurt. That hurt so much. And then picking the book back up after that and seeing the grief from his family. Oh my gosh. I could not. With Misaki after that, her grief just tore me to pieces. Oh my gosh, I just couldn't. And finally, I got to the point where I was like, I was accepting it. I was accepting Misaki's grief. And then Hiroshi, his response, oh my gosh, it was so sweet. Oh my gosh, I couldn't at all. And then later, not even that much later, we found out Takeru's reaction also. I couldn't. I was bawling that entire time. From the moment of Mamoru's death up until, like, Misaki and Takeru have that big battle thing that they do. It's like, rip my heart out, please, right now, because it hurts so much. I absolutely loved that little escapade that they had there. I think that was so much growth for both of the characters. I loved getting to finally get Takeru's thoughts on everything. Like, I knew from the beginning that I liked him as a character. I just couldn't figure out why ML Wang didn't like him as a character. Turns out she did. But, like, yeah. I loved him so much. That sounds like a weird thing to say, but like, I feel like it just worked. Him and Misaki just worked so well together, and I loved their relationship, even though it's not like romantic. I mean, it is, but it doesn't feel like a love story, if you know what I mean. Takashi's death also, oh my gosh. That happening right before Mamoru made me really feel like Mamoru was getting out of it too. That was just so explosive and great. I love the way that it was done. I felt like his character arc was perfect as well. Hayori's death, oh. That one, I don't know if I expected it or not. I just had an inkling that it was coming. Like, I had an inkling that it was gonna happen, especially when you hear the baby crying. I was like, they're gonna walk in and she's gonna be hanging from the ceiling. Like, that's how I felt. And that's not exactly what happened, but it was close enough. I didn't have any tears anymore. Like, all my tears were gone. Just like Misaki, come to think of it. All of her tears were gone too. That was devastating also. But I really like the growth and development in Misaki and how she really came together with her family. One thing I will say though, I would have liked to see more from her relationship with Hiroshi. I feel like I didn't get the closure there that I really wanted, especially since, like, he killed a man to save her. And he's this 4-year-old boy, and he killed a man to save her. And I just feel like we didn't get the closure for his character arc that I really wanted. Like, I feel like I need another book with Hiroshi. I don't know if I'm gonna be satisfied if I don't get his story arc, because there's just so much backstory for him here that I need his real story arc. Because we got a little hint of it, that he's going to be this great Matsuda warrior, but we didn't actually get that. So yeah, that was like the one thing like I kind of really regretted from this book that I felt like I really wanted. Also, all of the political stuff, like, we find out what happened with the political stuff, but never why. Like, it was just kind of like, okay, yeah, the Empire is basically just, like, lying about what happened to you guys here. Like, they're really grateful, but we don't care. We're gonna lie about it to everyone. But why? Like, why is that necessary? Like, why would the Empire just do that? Like, that's what gets me with this book, because like, I love this book so much. It was one of the most emotional stories that I've ever read. If this was just a standalone novel, like, teaser, like, there's just so much in this world and in that, like, I feel like we just haven't gotten enough of yet. But at the same time, I'm just so happy with the character arcs that we did get, that like, I shouldn't need another novel because of how emotional I was with this one. But I need another novel. Like, I need another one following these characters, not the other two Theonite stories that are out that this kind of serves as a prequel to. Like, I know we got to meet one of those characters at the end of this in the last chapter, but like, that actually really annoyed me. I didn't like the last chapter at all. If you like the last chapter, please comment down below and let me know why you like the last chapter, because I really didn't like it. I did not want to get a reunion with Robin. Like, I understand Robin was her first love, whatever. I didn't care. Like, I didn't care. I didn't care to meet Daniel. I mean, he was cute. He was just this like fun little kid. But like, I don't actually have that much interest in reading the other two Theonite novels in which Daniel is actually like one of the main characters in, just because those two, like the way the world building is set up in those two, from what I see from the summary, is the world building that I didn't like in here, as opposed to the world building that I actually really did like. So I don't know. Maybe Hiroshi is in those novels also, but he can't be the main character because he's not in the summary of those novels. So I don't know. If you've read those two, let me know what you thought of them in the comments, and if Hiroshi is a character in those novels, because if he is, then I might actually pick up those. But if he's not, I'm not going to. He's the only character that I really want to know more of from the Sword of Kaigen. All the rest of them, I'm just really satisfied with, except for Robin. I don't care for Robin at all. I know that's terrible, but anyways, I really love this. One of the best books I've read all year, and I don't know how it can be so emotional. I have no idea, but it was phenomenal. So if you read this book, let me know in the comments what you guys thought of it, because I would love to discuss with you guys. I post videos on Sundays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, so consider subscribing. I also post bonus videos, so if you want to be notified as soon as I upload, you can click that little bell icon. If you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up to support my channel. All social media links are in the description down below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.